All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Again, I will be taking attendance. I'll be asking you all to participate, and also like at the end of our video, I'm gonna also just ask you to like say present if you're here, and if your username is not your actual name, you want to put your name as well. I do see most of you have your actual names, so I'm gonna go ahead and begin. Oh, there's something in the chat. Awesome. I see you, Tony. And I'll also be taking attendance at the end as well, because then I know some people are still logging in, but it's great to see that you guys are here at the beginning. Trying to let it, okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get started. So on yesterday, we did start a new unit. The new unit was a little bit of review, and I'll talk about that in a second, but today's lesson is going to be introduction to something called the unit circle. It's May 5th. We have about 2.5 weeks of lessons left, so it's time to, get into this last unit, everybody. And after that, it's going to be like presentations of learning for seniors. So just as a reminder, again, this session will be recorded. I'll be again uploading this later today. Class norms, though, both in the chat and if you're participating, active listening, respect the one mic, be kind, respect different ideas, and then I'm super highlighting participate because again, I will be entering Zoom participation grades as well, and be present. So just make sure that you're present. Try to be away from distractions, even though I understand that could be hard. Okay, so here's the agenda. We're gonna have a quick check-in question. We're gonna be doing a notice and wonder activity with the unit circle. And then we're going to be proving a point is on the unit circle. And then there's a Google quiz that's going to be due today at 11:59 p.m. But the quiz is basically based on today's Zoom. It's going to be like a fill in the blank. So as long as you're paying attention, you should do fine with the Google form quiz that's due today. So that's our agenda. Let's jump straight into the check-in question. So last time I asked you guys what was your most used emoji during the quarantine, right? I definitely like emojis because I know we all use them. Oh, and here's where we're at. Always check out the virtual lesson stuff. Again, the lesson is already uploaded as well for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You guys have off. You could catch up on your other work. Or if you didn't submit Monday's lesson, right? I'm giving you time to please do that by Friday. I would love that. There's still time. Don't ignore this lesson. It's an important lesson. Okay, and a little bit of reminder that this is the form that's going to be due tonight by 11:59 p.m. The form is found on the virtual calendar. So you have to go into the virtual calendar and the link is in there. Notice it's fill in the blank. So like I said, if you're paying attention to today's lesson, you should do fine on the fill in the blank quiz. Okay, now we could go into our checking questions. Like I said, last time I asked you all what was your most used quarantine emoji, but now I want you to put in the emoji that describes how you're feeling right now. So the emoji that you're feeling right now, you want to go ahead and put that into the chat. So right now we have about 19 students. And even if you're uncertain, you could just put that. So Tony says clown emoji. So right now you're feeling like a clown, laughing emoji. Okay. I think mine's gonna be the tired emoji. I think I agree, Dylan. Mine is like sleepy. I didn't have my coffee today. James is the missing mouth emoji. Laisha's sleepy. Tired emoji for Jasmine. Then I see a question mark for Nay's iPhone. Edgar's the straight face. Yeah, it was a mix of straight face and sleepy. Perry's the, I don't know what that is, but tired emoji. And then Shannon looks like the sighing emoji. Kimberly sleepy, straight face emoji for Raven. Yeah, I feel that. Especially around noon and afternoon. I feel like the afternoon, the laziness just hits. And I don't know what, Belle, I don't know what that one is. Smiling, a smirk. All right, y'all, thank you for sharing. Again, do make sure that you share. Again, it's another way for me to take attendance. I'll be taking attendance at the end of this. Again, we have about 19 participants right now. Okay, let's move on. So I know a lot of us are tired, straight face. I mean, there's some of us who are like happy, like Angel Tony. Tony's feeling like kind of happy. I don't know. This is the clown thing. So okay, so as a reminder, yesterday we had a review about radians and degrees. This right here is a screenshot of yesterday's lesson. It's in the virtual calendar. It was literally a short video. It was only 8 minutes. And I even put in screenshots of the examples. And it was literally like 4 problems, everybody. So if you did not do this assignment, I am encouraging you to please do the assignment because I don't want you to be confused, further, like as we move along in this last unit that we have. So again, a reminder, please do yesterday's assignment. It was literally a short 8-minute video and I'm still going to give you full credit as long as you're like keeping in touch and getting that in with me. All right, so let's move on from that. So today's activity though, here's the directions. I'm going to be projecting the unit circle. Now, I introduced the unit circle a little bit yesterday in yesterday's video. Even if you did not like do yesterday's assignment, I'm going to still project it and you could still participate in the activity. So you're not at a disadvantage. You're going to take a minute. You're just going to look at the thing called the unit circle. Then into the chat, you're going to type out a notice or a wonder. That means like, I noticed this or I wonder this. So it could be about anything for your credit. And again, participate for your credit. So that's going to be the activity right now. All right, so first right now, everybody, I am projecting the unit circle. So right now, don't start yet. First, I want you to look at it. Just look at what the unit circle looks like. Again, we don't know yet as a class how to use it or anything like that. So right now I'm just projecting in, having you like notice and wonder. And then in a second, we're going to go ahead and into the chat, we're going to put what we notice and what we wonder about it. And there's no wrong answers to this. Welcome everybody who just joined. So we're doing a notice and wonder activity. Right now I projected something called the unit circle that we really haven't used. So we're just doing a notice and wonder with it. Okay, so we're gonna start to type into the chat what we notice and wonder right now. So it looks like Juan got started. I noticed that every 45 degrees, the radian is divided by 4. So every 45 degrees, so here's 45, I see division by 4. Is divided by 4, so every 45 degrees. Yeah, like each 45 degrees, I think I see what you're saying. Let me move up, I'm seeing a lot more. Okay, Angel says, I wonder why there is an X and Y axis. That's a good wonder. Jasmine says, I noticed that there are degrees for all the points on the graph. That's true. I noticed that too. So for every point, there's like a correlated degree measure. True. Let's see what else there is. Diana says, I noticed there's a negative and positive side. Yes. Abel says, I noticed it has positive and negative. So that's similar to what Diana noticed as well. Edgar says, I noticed that the highest degree is 360. Yes, that's a very important. Noelia notices that they're all fractions. Perry says that there's a degree inside the circle. Sophia says all points plotted are fractions. Perry says, I wonder what is the purpose of the circle. Stormy says, I noticed that the coordinate points have similar values. True, like you see some sort of repetition of values around the unit circle. Diego says, why are there square roots for all of the outer layer? I know, like where is that coming from? Raven notices that they're all divided by 2. Nayeli wonders why there is a circle. Wendy says, I noticed that they're all being divided by 3, 4, or 6. Yes. And then James says, it makes a whole 360. Jenna says, I noticed how the center of the circle has some sort of x-axis and y-axis. These are awesome noticing and wonderings. Very much true. So now that we have all that out there, and again, please make sure you participated if you haven't yet. And it looks like that we're already starting to make some connections in the chat because I think James was saying, like somebody noticed that it ended at 360. And I think James said it makes a whole 360. And then Darian is saying that 180 degrees right here is equal to pi. So that's like some correlations that we're noticing. And yeah, so the X and Y axis, so a lot of you mentioned it. So this unit circle is actually plotted on a coordinate plane. So that's why there is this X and Y axis. All right. So now that we've done this notice and wonder activity and you guys put all that in there, right? You notice that a lot of you are wondering the same thing or you notice the same thing. I'm going to now give you important things you should know about the unit circle. And this you could write down, right? Because these are the parts that will show up in today's quiz, the form, the fill in the blank, this part right here. Important information about the unit circle. So this is where the fill in the blank is going to come in today's quiz. So take a look. Here's some important information. Number one, the unit circle is graphed, and it is graphed on the XY plane. That's why there's an X and Y axis. And it always has a radius of 1. That's why it's called unit circle, like 1 unit. Radius means this part, this length right here. It's like half of the diameter. Diameter is the whole thing right here, but half of it is the radius. It always has a radius of 1 unit. Notice up here it hits at 0, 1. Down here, -1, 0. It's always length 1, even in between. It's still going to be a radius of length 1. Let me use my pointer. So like from here to this point, the radius is 1. From here to this point, it's still 1. Everywhere, it's going to be a radius of 1 unit for the unit circle. So that's an important piece of information. The next important piece of information, and again, this is going to show up in your quiz, like just fill in the blank. The next thing is that the degree measure, some of you pointed that out, these degree measures right here, correlates with the equivalent radian measure. So for example, notice the numbers that have pi in it. 30 degrees is equivalent to pi over 6 radians. 45 degrees is equivalent to pi over 4, and so forth. So that's why there's two like measures next to each other like that. It's because they're equivalent. I think a bell, I'm letting a bell in again. So that's important. Very important. Again, this will be showing up in today's quiz, fill in the blank. Next part, how we start counting on the unit circle. So a lot of you were saying like, oh, it ends at 360 and so forth. How you start counting is you start right here on the positive x-axis. Positive means on the right-hand side, because then on this side it's negative. And a lot of you were noticing about these signs changing. So you always start here, and you start counting counterclockwise this way. So here's 0 degrees, and then you go up counterclockwise to 30 degrees, counterclockwise to 45, 60 degrees, 90, and you can keep going around the unit circle. Then there's 120, 135, 150, 180, and you could go all the way around. So again, you start counting counterclockwise, so opposite the movement of the clock. Sorry, who's trying to get in? DJ is trying to get in. Cool. Again, for those who just came in, we have 23 participants. I will be taking attendance at the end. Right now, I'm going over important information you should know about the unit circle. These right here, they're going to be fill in the blank questions that are going to show up in today's quiz. So just please pay attention to these things right here. You can write it down or just, pay attention right now and then quickly fill out the form once I'm done with the Zoom. That way you get it out the way. Okay, next thing. The unit circle is basically built or created by forming right triangles with hypotenuse length 1. I'm going to show this in the next slide, but for now, what you should know is hypotenuse length 1 is directly correlated with the fact that the unit circle always has a radius of 1. So that's just an important fact. Lastly, these coordinates right here come from building the right triangles in the unit circle and using trigonometry to find those x and y values. So I think some of the questions y'all asked in the notice and wonder was like, why were there square roots, coming up? That basically comes up when you're using like Pythagorean theorem and, when you square root both sides, that's where this comes from, because you're going to be building right triangles. Okay, so again, make sure that you know these important points, because you're going to be filling in the blanks. in today's Google form. All right, so now let's move on from this so I can show you what I mean about how to tell if a point is on the unit circle. This right here is also going to help you out for tomorrow's assignment, which I already put in the virtual calendar. Like, feel free to already do that. Okay, here we go. So how to tell if a point is on the unit circle. And again, right now at this part, you could write this down or you could just always go back to the video, right? It does help to get it down, but it's not 100% required right now. Just pay attention to what's going on. So step one, how to tell if a point's on a unit circle. That's going to be one of the things you'll be tasked to do, right, in this unit. So this is what I mean about building a right triangle to a point. You basically like create this right here is the radius, right? From the origin all the way to the point is going to be your radius. It's also the hypotenuse of a right triangle. And there's the right angle. You kind of just build it in the unit circle like this. Okay, so that's how you build that in. One thing we should know is, remember I talked about how those right triangles always have a hypotenuse of length 1. That's something you want to put in there too. So this length right here is always going to be 1 because it's in the unit circle. And the unit circle always has a radius of length 1, no matter where you draw your triangle. So this is an important one, and I'm just doing the example for this first point, right? You could also draw a right triangle for a second point or whatever, but I'm just doing this first one. So that's how I draw the right triangles in the unit circle. And an important thing is this length right here is 1. Okay, next. Now for this particular triangle, the horizontal length is actually your x value, because notice that x is your horizontal movement up to the point. So the horizontal length of this triangle is going to be this, the square root of 3/2. That comes from the first x value. Now, maybe in the chat, for those who are paying attention, can you all tell me what you think is the vertical length of this triangle? So we know that the x coordinate is the horizontal length. What would be the vertical? Okay, so we have Shannon, Jasmine, Juan, Wendy, Edgar, Perry. Okay, everybody's saying 1/2. You guys are correct. 0.5, Diego says. Perfect. Yes, that's correct. Perfect. So it looks like you guys are definitely following along. So this length of this triangle is going to be 1/2. Cool. And we also have this part. We know that this hypotenuse is 1. Perfect. Everybody's in agreement. I love that. Okay, so cool. We have this horizontal length of the triangle, we have the vertical length, and we have hypotenuse. Now, how to tell if a point is on the unit circle is we use the Pythagorean theorem. Remember, you can use Pythagorean whenever you have a right triangle, and if you know certain information about the sides, that's what we're going to use. Usually, Pythagorean is the thing where it's like a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But I wrote it like this, where this is your A, this is your B, and that's your C. You could change like how you name this because you know they're just variables, they mean the same thing. I specifically chose it like this so you could see that I'm going to be plugging in these right here, the X and the Y. And then your C, which is always the hypotenuse right there. So now what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to check and I'm trying to prove right now that this point right here is on the unit circle. Because y'all can see it clearly is on the unit circle, we're gonna have a true statement. You'll see what I mean by that. Take a look. So step 1 or step 2, after you write down Pythagorean, is to plug in your knowns, right? You know your X, you know your Y, you know that the hypotenuse is 1. So you plug in everything that you know. The next thing from this step is you could use a calculator for these parts. Just rewrite them as decimals. That's fine with me. But just don't forget to square them after. That means multiply it by itself. So if I do this number squared, what I get, and just use a calculator, is this one, you should get 0.75, and for this one, you get 0.25. And 1 times 1 is just 1. So that's my next step, is you just simplify everything. Okay, now what we want to show if a point is on the unit circle is that the left side has to equal the right side. What is 0.75 plus 0.25? What does that equal to? For those who are paying attention in the chat. So Jasmine, Wendy, Angel says 1. Raven says 1. Awesome, you guys are in agreement. Perfect. Yeah, it's equal to 1, right? So because the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side, I put a check mark because I'm showing that I proved that this point is indeed on the unit circle. As long as the, if you do the x squared plus y squared, and if you get it's equal to 1, that it is on the unit circle. On tomorrow's assignment, I'm going to try to give you points that are not on the unit circle, and you'll get a false statement. Like, for example, you'll get 2 equals 1, or like 3 equals 1. That's how you know the point is not on the unit circle. But this is an example of one that is on it. Let me know if anyone has any questions on this that I just did right now. Awesome. And then, great, I see, Tony, that you put in 1. Awesome. So yeah, this is how you do the proof. Today's quiz is not going to be on this, right? It's going to be on the things I listed off in the other section, right? So the assignment is to fill out the Google form based on today's Zoom, and it's fill in the blank. So it's the stuff I talked about, the important information. Let me go back just so you know what I'm talking about. It was, sorry, I'm just, this one. You want to look back on here. So what I'm going to do right now is that it's 12:21, but I'm going to go ahead and take the form and put it into the chat so that you all can fill it out now to get it out the way. And that way I could give you your credit. First off, you're going to get credit for your participation here on Zoom. And you're going to also need to get some credit for that form. Let me go ahead and paste that into the chat so y'all can do it now. Sorry, let me get out of there. Let me take this and I'm going to paste it into the chat. All right, so I put the link into the chat so that you could go ahead and use this remaining time to get started on the Google form. The last thing, right, after that, you've done that, if you could please, not after you've done that, if you could now actually go ahead and put that you're here right now, because this is the, you know, the end of the day attendance, just to make sure who was here for the full time. So Bella's here, good. Barry's here, awesome. I'm gonna save the chat as long as you're saying that you're here. I'll give you your credit. And I'll put the link again for those who lost it so y'all can get started on the Google form quiz. Great, I see that you all are here. Vasti's here, thank you. Great, great. All right, so I'm gonna put the link back in for the Google quiz. Then I'm going to save the chat. All right, so again, feel free to use this time to go ahead and do the quiz, but that's pretty much all our learning today. We're done kind of early, which I'm really happy about. So thank you all for your participation. I put the form in the chat, so please do that before you move on to whatever else you gotta do. All right, y'all. And I went ahead and saved the chat. Please make sure that you put that you were here if you were here. Let me just stop sharing. All right, bye everybody. Enjoy your classes. Thank you, Shannon. Let me just save the chat again. Bye, y'all. Let me go ahead and end the meeting.